Hello and welcome to episode 12 of Let's Play Planet Coaster here on Theme Park Worldwide. Now before we move on with the episode, firstly I just want to apologise for anyone that had any issues viewing the last episode. Unfortunately, YouTube doesn't quite like Disney's Phantom Manor soundtrack as much as I do. It did actually block the audio, and then once I got that removed it meant that the audio quality of the video was quite low for the first half. So I do apologise about that, but it is online to view now. It is available to watch on mobile devices. So if you do want to go back watch that episode, then great. If you didn't actually see what happened in the last episode, I built this dark ride that you can see I'm working on the theming with now. I'll go into that in just a second. But yeah, we built this dark ride. It was basically a massive shell, and it was the transit system itself. I actually used the Christmas sleigh ride. This was a later addition to Planet Coaster. It came out at the festive season just gone. So they put that in. I thought, you know what, I'm going to add that in. Yes, it is sleighs, but I sort of painted the cars black and brown, which meant they'd fit in with the pirate theme. And what I really liked about this also was the fact there was two lights on the front of it. With this pirate dark ride being set in a scene where it is at night time, I thought that would work really, really well in terms of having the lights on the front of it to sort of guide you throughout this dark ride. So what can you see happening now? Basically, all the theming is going to go in. As you can see, this episode is around 30 odd minutes long, just a little bit over. Throughout this episode, you are going to see this dark ride complete. And by the end of it, the whole thing is complete. And let's just say it looks stunning. So how this episode works is the first 20 odd minutes, 25 minutes is basically me showing you all the theming that's gone in. I don't show you every little detail of me putting in, as we'd be here for hours. So I've cut out a few bits, but I show you the main chunk of theming going in. So the first 20 odd minutes is sped up footage like this, showing the different scenes going in, and throughout that I'll explain a little bit about what that scene is. Then sort of the second half of the episode I'll explain a little bit about triggered effects. So it talks about these quite a lot, and you can actually see one just there. That's one of the exploding barrels. What you can actually do is select a certain piece of track, whether it's a dark ride, a roller coaster, anything like that, and have triggered effects, whether that be lighting, the animatronic man that you can see just there with the gun, and we basically trigger that, and I'll show you how to do that for anyone that's not familiar with it in the game. And then right at the end I show you a POV of this ride. It's around 3.5 minutes long when it's complete, so not a massively long dark ride, but it's good for my first one. I'm quite pleased with it, if I do say so myself. I hope you guys enjoy it too. I read a lot of your comments on the last episode, and yeah, it seems like you guys really enjoyed the dark ride and was looking forward to seeing my theming go in place, and that is what you're going to see now happening. So anyway, before I shut up and let you enjoy me doing some theming and some wonderful theme park audio, literally I'm going to explain what this room is all about. So basically this is the second to last room in the ride. It's the biggest scene, and it's basically a massive pirate village. Now you actually see this scene earlier on in the ride, and you'll see me build that later on in the episode, but basically this is a similar scene, a big pirate town. However, the fight has broken out. The lighting in here is going to be all red and yellow, sort of you know, there's a big fight going on, sort of thing in here, and that's the sort of scenery that I wanted to put in place. Lots of buildings have put in here. Of course, there's no need to have proper massive roofs on there. It's a dark ride, and there is a roof going to be put on this in a couple of moments time. Actually, you'll see once the theming's complete I do start putting the roofs on individually on each area. So yeah, it's a massive pirate fight scene, this one right at the end. It's all been quite happy throughout the ride, and it gets a bit darker towards the end where you're actually going to meet the pirate himself. There's a statue of this pirate, and then he sets this whole sort of castle on fire. There's a big scene with lots of fire effects inspired by Valhalla, of course, and then you come through into this scene at the end just here, and then the last scene in the ride that you'll see me do later on as well is like a cave, but I'll explain more about that when we do it. Anyway, I'll be quiet for a little bit. I'll let you enjoy me doing some scenery work, and I'll chip in and tell you about each individual room as I build it. So as you just seen there, I've completed the roof on that first section that I've built. I've now put in some archways. This is the first scene of the ride. I want this to be quite compact, and as you can see there, I put some wooden planks on the side just to transport guests into this pirate world. I didn't want you to just come straight out of the station and into that first scene. I wanted a room where you could be transported. You can see there, especially in those lighting conditions, how good that looks. I've added the roof on there as well, and go straight through into the next room that I was going to build. So this scene here is at the back of the ride. It's the second largest scene. In terms of building, I actually went through the size of the room just to make sure I could fill the space with what I wanted to. You can see that's at the top right of the dark ride if you're looking at it from front on. This scene here features lots of rock work. I know there's a lot of you out there that enjoyed watching my rock work in the pirate area. I say enjoyed, maybe some of you got a bit bored when we're doing rocks, but I'm really pleased that I think it looks really good, and you'll be pleased to know that very soon, as soon as this bit of rock work is done in this ride, you won't have to see much rock work in the rest of the park. All the rock work was inside this pirate area. There'll be a few little bits throughout the park, maybe in the fantasy area and things, but not massive chunks of rock work like there is in this pirate area. That's just how I wanted to make this terrain look. But yeah, if you look at this, it's a massive shipwreck scene. The lighting in here is going to be blue, a couple of smoke machines and things in there, a bit of dry ice, just to make it sort of, a bit eerie, and the audio in there will be a little bit eerie as well. We'll have some sounds of something coming out of the tunnel, which is another scene that we go on to building in a second with, guess what, more rock work. You'll see me do that shortly. You can see here I'm putting in some trees and stuff as well. Of course, this is an indoor dark ride. In reality, these will be probably plastic palm trees and things that are going in there. Of course, they are real in terms of the game, but we're putting them all in there. A bit of sort of things growing up, bit of ivy growing up the walls, just to give it a bit of a aged feeling. You've been in this lovely pirate town at the start of the ride that you'll see me build shortly, and then you could suddenly things take a turn for the worse. The lights drop out, and you end up in this very sort of blue, dark room. The storm's coming. You hear the wind, you hear the breeze, and that's the sort of theme that I want with this room just here. And in a second, you'll see that I put the roof on this one. There we go, and then start thinking about the lighting effects. With dark rides, lighting, audio, and of course the animations throughout it are what really make it. Anyone can just put a bit of theming in there and class it as a dark ride and put a transit system in. With this, it's all about the audio. Now with Planet Coaster, for it to actually be dark inside, unfortunately, you do actually need to turn it into night mode on the game, and you'll see me do that in just a second, like so. So there you go, that's now in night mode, and look at that, like I said earlier on, you've got the two little lights on the front of each carriage, and yeah, I've just put some little park hands in the ceiling there as well to light the room up blue, but you'll see that in its full potential when we go into the POV. Bit more rock work going on here. I start to work on the finale scene to the ride. This is basically a massive cave where there's a pirate scene going on, a big fight scene between two pirates over a treasure chest, and you'll see me start to do that in a second. Again, I did sort of think, oh, do I want to build this ride up from the start and to the end? But then I thought, no, I'm going to do it really in size of the rooms. However, a bit of an exception with this bit. It is one of the smaller rooms, but I did want to sort of make sure I did this so I've got an idea of what's going on with the theme. The other large room I go on to last, which is the Happy Village. Anybody can do a little Happy Village area, and there you go. You can see these two pirates here, these little animations, all fighting over that big pot of gold, and the lighting's really nice in there, like a green and blue lighting. It's only a small scene, it just curves round to the left back into the station, but I think that's quite important. We'll make sure the audio is really good inside there as well. So over the next sort of couple of minutes here, you see me go back to the scenes that I've built so far, go back in and install all of the lighting that I want to put in. As I mentioned it is really important to make sure that we get the ambience right inside this dark ride. Just like a real dark ride that you go on, you don't want loads of bright spotlights shining you in the face, and you don't want to really look up into the ceiling and think, oh god, there's a massive light there, I know where that's coming from. So I try my best to hide lots of the lighting the best I can do really inside this. You can see I've got 3 park hands there, and I'm using the advanced scenery editor to just spin those round and place them where I want to. Again, we can add them to triggers triggers if we do want to at a later stage, but I will go into that later on. We'll trigger some lights in one of the scenes, probably the Happy Pirate scene. We'll put some lights flashing on and off and that sort of thing. And we can see there I'm changing the angles, and that's the beauty of Planet Coaster, the placement of things. The fact you don't have to use grids at all, and you can just place lights where the hell you want. So you can see here I've got the big skull and crossbones just on the side. I think, you know what, I want to light that up. I want to put a blue light on that, so I change it to blue, and then really think about the angling and where I want to place that. And it means as soon as that car comes around the corner, they'll see it lit up. Again, if I wanted to, I could trigger that so it flashed on and off, change colour, all that sort of thing. And again, you can see me here, I've got the animatronics. I want to make sure they're lit up. Yes, they are later going to be triggered, but I want to make sure that as soon as that car comes around the corner, they can see those animatronics. And I change that to blue, and then in a moment you'll see me think, actually, the blue wasn't right. Let's change that to red, so it sort of contrasts with the backlighting that we've got there where it is blue. So over the next couple of minutes, you see me carry on with the lighting just around here before I start to move on to one of the main vital scenes, and that is where you go into the pirate's building itself, and you actually meet this pirate that is about to set on fire to the little village that he hates. So this is it. This is the part of the ride where you start to think, oh, it's taking a bit of a dark turn. You've been in that lovely pirate village. You've just gone through the shipwreck with all the blue light and think, what's going on here? And then you end up right here inside this pirate sort of castle building, if you like. Lots of barrels of whiskey and all that kind of stuff. We're going to have some big chandeliers in here and lots of statues of various different things that he likes all down the side. So we've got like an anchor there, a pot of treasure, a pirate ship, and we're going to have the main pirate himself just stood down at the bottom there, and I think we'll light him up in blue with a power can in a moment as well. But you can see there we've got all flames down the side, all different torches. Again, we could trigger those if we did want to. You can do so much with triggers. I don't do loads inside this dark ride. I want to keep it quite basic for my first one, but you'll see in the future in this park we'll be doing a multi-level dark ride in the fancy area and all sorts of different stuff, along with a proper haunted ride as well. This is a very family experience. I want to do something quite scary as well in this park. You can see there I had some power cans at the back. I changed these to various different colours and angled them to just light up various different scenes, but to be honest, with the other lights that are in there and the fire torches, you don't really get to see the full benefit of those lights as much as I would have liked to. But yeah, it's a very dark scene, this one. You go in there and then from this point you go through a tunnel, and then at the end of that tunnel you're going to see all the flame effects down the bottom and the start of this village that has been attacked by this pirate. And there he is. Of course, that is just a statue of him. You don't really get to meet this pirate himself. I assume in the audio you'd put in audio of this pirate in there and that sort of stuff. But here I wanted it to be quite sort of low level roof, so I actually put a low roof in there first and then put the high roof just above that. Yes, there's some blank space in there, but that doesn't matter. It's absolutely fine in my eyes. So that there is the scene which is going to lead through into the fire scene itself. So you've got all these archways. Of course, in real life, if this was a real dark ride, you've got all your different sort of ventilation systems put in there on the roof, Mitsubishis and all that kind of stuff, just to make sure you're getting the right sort of ventilation, and also the power in there as well. Quite a small scene, but you can see there all the flame effects going in. So that's the story of this dark ride if you're coming up with names. A really nice pirate village, which there's one pirate that really can't stand this village. He lives in this massive castle, and throughout this you go through there, you travel there through the shipwreck, all the ships that he's overturned, into this castle. You meet him through the form of a statue with a voiceover, and then he sort of warns you not to go ahead. You go through into this fire scene, and then a big pirate battle at the end, and then the final scene, of course, that small little treasure room with two pirates sort of battling. So there's not really a happy ending to this, to be honest. A bit like Pirates of the Caribbean, no massive big ending in terms of everything's happily ever after. I love this bit, what I did here actually, just literally piling up planks of wood on the floor, just simulate that there's this burning roof and the fact that things have come down. A lot of this ride is based outside and in the dark, so, well, the whole thing's based in the dark, so it works really well having all these different scenes of like little towns, and like you don't need to build full massive buildings, you just need to put facades up like that. What I'm doing there, it is a facade, it's just literally some windows on the wall. At the back of that is the station area, so it's all about making the use of them layers. That's what it is in Planet Coaster. I know I spoke about airlock. If it's not been rocks, it's been layers, let's be honest, and it is all about putting that in. So again, I'll shut up for a little bit and let you enjoy me working on the theming, and then I'll talk you through the last couple of scenes that I build inside this dark ride. So if you hadn't seen enough already this series, here's a little bit more rock work going in. I know how much you all love the rock work. I only put a little bit in, don't worry guys, just around these two scenes. So you've just seen me do the very first sort of major room that you go into. It's the first part of the Happy Pirate Village, and this is the second part of it here. It's the last room that I've got to theme inside this dark ride, other than the station itself. This is it. This is the room where you go in, everything's jolly, people singing, it's a bit of a beach scene, some bowels about, everybody's, getting a bit drunk around there, having a good time, and that's what I want this whole sort of area to be about just here before you go into that shipwreck room and so forth, into the sort of darkness that this ride really has. There you go, there's the barrels and things all going in, a bit of a pulley winch system. That's what it is with these dark rides, little random bits that really make it, and that's what makes parks such as Portaventura and Europa Park, because they put little details in. So that cannon there is going to be an animation, so we're going to set that as a trigger, which I'll go on to in a couple of minutes time when I go back into real time and talk about triggers. You can see there, I'm just putting a few planks on the side. Again, don't need to worry too much about the top of these buildings, because you're not going to see it in this dark ride. You're down so low level, you're not going to see it. A few plant pots going in there, again making sure that we really set the scene, along with the lanterns here as well. We want this to be a really nice area. Of course we wouldn't be putting that sort of thing later in this ride, but we want this sort of how it's going to be a really nice sort of relaxing experience to start with, and then it takes that turn for a worse when we go round into the shipwreck. Again, another pirate lookout guy going in there, some random branches. Again, that's going to be an animation just there. Instead of him just constantly doing that, we'll only have it when the ride vehicle goes past. I'm pleased with it. I think it looks really good, and I didn't want to bore you guys and show you me doing it all in real time. This took me, here in terms of work, you're looking at about 5 hours worth of work going in, so bear in mind how long it takes to do this kind of thing if you do want to do it in Planet Coaster. Yes, you can soon whack a part together and put some rides in it, but if you really want to go to town and go with the detail, this is how to do it. But in terms of a name, you've suggested some great ones so far. Now you've seen the finished ride, you're going to see a POV in a few minutes time of it complete, but you know, at the end of the day, you know how the story of this is, you know how it looks, how it works. Really get creative with your names, and in the next episode I'll show you the exterior, what I've done, finish that off and the rest of the pirate area before we move on to building the entrance to this park. And finally getting it open and seeing how it runs. See if my computer can handle it, that's the question, and we'll see what happens with that one. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Keep commenting with your names for this ride and I'll pick a winner for the next episode. Okay, so we're back in real time then now, where all the theming work inside my dark ride is now complete. As you saw there, it was sped up. I didn't show you each and every part of this ride being built, as you would have been here for a very, very long time. I did show you the highlights of this build, but I think it looks fantastic. But what I'm going to go into now is ride triggers and what we can do in terms of events. So if I click on the ride itself just here and head over to this little tab at the side called triggers, you'll see it says there track triggers, trigger points and total scenery events that we've got here. So if I go on to edit triggers, this will bring up this little box just here and add trigger. So you can see there I've got coaster trigger number 1. Of course it's not a coaster, but we can add triggers if we want to. What triggers are is basically changing elements throughout the ride. So it can be making the animatronic go off when the ride car goes past, things like making these lights flash on if we want to, all that kind of stuff. So let's take this trigger forwards where I want my first one to be. So I've got a cannon just around here that I want to be able to explode. So let's have a little look at that. So there we go. What basically this is, as soon as the car passes over that section of track, it will set off a ride element. So say we pop that just there, it means as soon as the car hits that point, it'll activate a trigger. So for example, let's have a little look then. So let's show the attached objects. If I attach that to the trigger by clicking like so, it now means as soon as it passes over there, it's going to set off that cannon and fire it basically. So that's quite cool. We can set a time delay if we want to as well. However, of course you just move that if you want to. But yeah, you can set that time delay, which can be quite cool for doing some things. But for this one, where we want it to go off, when the ride car's about there maybe, so just where it's ahead, not right next to it, but just when it's ahead. So then if we can test that, test the activation, that's what it's going to do when the ride car goes past. There we go. So there we go, that's added that trigger in. Let's go a bit further around now, let's add another trigger. So trigger number 2. Going around here, I've got a little pirate who's watching out. So let's have a little look. Here he is. Of course, if I don't add that to a trigger, he's going to keep doing that same motion all the time. So as soon as the ride car gets to about here, that's where I want him to do his little thing, don't I really? As soon as the guests are going past. So if we add another trigger, let's go on the attached objects, add objects to trigger, and click on him just there. That has now added him to that. And that's the pirate lookout. So it means as soon as we press that, we're going to see him activate. There we go. And that'll last for the length of the car passing, and then he'll stop. And wait for the next car to come past and activate that trigger. There we go, he's gone back into his ambient mode. So this is quite cool. You can also do this with lighting as well. So let's have a look at what lighting we've got inside here. I mean, let's go around this corner actually. Have a little look what we've got. So here I've got some little lights on the side of the building. So let's add another trigger in. I don't know why I just move around, because I've got to have to move this right now, aren't I? Oh, back into the building. When you're doing the dark ride like this, it can be quite complicated. You can get into quite a lot of detail. Oh, there we go, I've come out of the building now, that's it. Quite a lot of detail in terms of the theme here and everything what's going on. I mean, for my first dark ride, I'm quite pleased with it, to be honest. I think it looks quite good. There we go, so there's my third trigger, bring that round. I haven't done loads with triggers really, but I think this is quite self-explanatory, quite easy to really learn this, to be honest. There we go, so let's have a little look at this light, and then I'm going to do some more triggers, and I'm going to give you a POV of the complete ride with some audio as well. So yeah, trigger 3 is going to be that light. So we'll just have that off, and now so it comes on when the ride car passes. So again, add the object to trigger. It's going to be that light just there. So again, it's on sort of in the bulb there, but it's not giving off any light. So when it goes past, it goes like that basically. Again, we can add that trigger in. There we go, that's cool. And we can add another one in there as well. So add number 4 for this light just here. So as soon as the ride car gets to there, we can have it so that light just flicks on as well. There we go. So you can see there's no light there at all now. So you're gonna have boom, boom as the ride car comes past. And you can keep doing that and so on. There is so many things you can do in terms of adding triggers throughout. You can do it to every single light if you wanted to. Of course, I've got like blue power cans, blue spotlights up in the ceiling. You could do that for those if you wanted to. I mean, I'm not going to do it right now because I want to show you guys a POV and exactly what this ride is like. But yeah, there you go. Oh, that's cool. Awesome. Anyway, enough of me talking about it. As you can see, we're near at the end of this video, just a few minutes away from the end. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys a full POV of this dark ride, including what audio is going to be put inside it as well. So, of course, the exterior is what I'm going to be working on between this episode and the next episode. And I'm going to finish off the rest of this Pirates area in the next episode, which, believe it or not, will be episode 13. I can't believe how many of these we've had. But again, thank you very much for watching this series. I'm glad you've enjoyed it all so far. Here is the station. I'm going to put you guys on the front seat just there on that carriage and send you round so you can experience this dark ride in full. Thank you for watching, enjoy the POV, and in the next episode we'll also reveal a name, so comment below your names for our Pirate Dark Ride. Here you go, take your seats and enjoy the ride. I'll see you in the next episode. Enjoy!